The Anatomy of a Typeface by Madeline Carswell. Typography is a giant topic with many different rules, identifiers, and vocabulary. First, let's start with the top identifier, serifs. There are sans serifs and serifs. Sans serifs is a type of typeface that has no serifs on them. The word sans is a French word meaning without. Sans serifs can be classified into three different groups: grotesque, humanist, and geometric. Grotesque sans serifs have a low contrast between thick and thin strokes and has no observable stress, meaning no change in thickness and curved strokes. A grotesque sans serif font is work sans. Humanist sans serifs have a medium contrast between thick and thin strokes and has a slanted stress. The font Allegria sans is a well-known example. The last sans serifs group is geometric, which has a low contrast between thick and thin strokes, has a vertical stress, and circular round forms, like the font Quicksand. The opposite of sans serifs are serifs. A serif is a slight projection finishing off a stroke of a letter in certain typefaces. There are many different kinds of serifs, like the font Bodoni, the iconic Rockwell, and Rotisse semi-serif. With the typeface Bodoni, the serif is very thin. This is called a hairline serif. With the typeface Rockwell, the serif is very thick and bold, almost block-like. This is called a slab serif. Lastly, with the typeface Rotisse semi-serif, the serif is only on one side, making it have features of both serif and sans serifs. Simple enough, this type of serif is called semi-serif. Serifs can also have different angles. In the typeface Times New Roman, the serif is slanted, while in the typeface Baskerville Old Face, the serif only has a slight slant that is not as extreme as the Times New Roman. Some type serifs, like American Typewriter, has a very slight slant that basically looks like a straight line. Although sans serifs and serif are a big part of identifying a typeface, it is not the only important vocabulary. In the uppercase T, there's stem, which is any vertical stroke in a character, an arm, which is the horizontal stroke in a character that does not connect to a stem at one or both sides, and a terminal, which is the end of a stroke that does not have a serif. In the uppercase letter R, there is a stroke, which is any single linear element in a character, a tail, which is the short descending diagonal stroke, and a shoulder, which is a curved part projecting downward from a stem. In the lowercase k, there is an ascender, which is any part in a lowercase letter that extends above the x height, which is the height of the lowercase letters. In the letter, there's also a leg, which is the downward sloping stroke. In the lowercase e, there is an I, which refers specifically to the enclosed space in the e. In the letter S, there is a spine, which is the main curved stroke. With the uppercase letter A, there is an apex, which is the point at the top of a letter where the two strokes meet. The line in the middle of the A is called a crossbar. The lowercase letter G has a bowl, which is the curved part of a letter that encloses the circular or curved parts in letters. There is also the ear, which is the finishing stroke on a letter. There is a link, which is the small, usually curved connecting stroke between the bowl and the lower loop. And a loop is the enclosed or partially enclosed counter below the baseline that is connected to the bowl by the link. Lastly, there is the descender, which any part in a lowercase letter that extends below the baseline. The baseline is the imaginary line upon which letters in the font appear to rest. Lastly, the uppercase G has a counter, which is the enclosed or partially enclosed circular or curved negative space, and a spur, which is the small protruding part off a main stroke. It is often seen where a curved stroke meets a straight stroke. With each font, there are also different styles. First, there is the Roman style, which is the standard upright style many see most often. Then there's italic, which is the slanted type style that takes its basic shapes from stylized form of handwriting. Lastly, there is the bold style, which makes the characters darker and heavier to make it stand out more. And this is the anatomy of a typeface.